Hello, family. Welcome to the Reiki Healing Hope community. So, today we're going to do a video explaining astrology. So, I talk a lot about astrology in our other videos. And for those new to the community, our videos are energetic, Reiki-based healing videos. So remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, to comment. I do some hand movement as well too, and just get you in a relaxed state so that you can be very receptive to your healing journey. So I often talk about astrology, and I realize that I just kind of throw some things out there, and I'm not really sure how much the community knows. I am really passionate about astrology. It's something that I've been very interested in for a long time. Let's say 15 years. That actually might not be enough time, but it's something that really got me into understanding the metaphysic work. It kind of laid the foundation for me understanding kind of the bigger picture. And so because of that, I want to just explain to you all what I'm talking about. Okay, the first thing. What is the difference, between your horoscope and your natal chart? So, if you're used to astrology, or if you don't know a lot about astrology, you probably know what a natal chart is. What a horoscope is. A horoscope is specifically your sun sign: Sagittarius, Libra, Scorpio, all of these signs in your sun. And it talks about, maybe you'll see your daily horoscope, your weekly, for the season, for the month, whatever that is. And it's just kind of telling you little tidbits of like, hey Scorpio, you're going to fall in love this season. Now, it's an interesting place to start off, but it's not 100% accurate, because if there are 7 billion people on Earth, and it's all being categorized into 12 signs, we're all a little bit too unique for us to just be able to fit in those 12 signs. And that makes sense, because what we've come to understand as our horoscope is just one part of our natal chart. Our natal chart is the planetary alignment of all the planets, constellation, nodes of the moon, when we were born, the specific time we're born. To get your full natal chart, you need to know your location, but also what time you were born. If you at least know, your location, your date, you can get what signs the planets were in when you were born. But if you can get the time you were born, that brings an extra level, because you'll also learn about the houses that each one of these planets are in, and it gives a little bit more to the understanding of the natal chart. So for those who are like, I'm not really into astrology, I don't get it, let me explain it like this. Or for people who are non-believers, I think you're probably not going to be watching the video if you don't have some type of interest in astrology. But for those of you all who are just like, I don't get it, it just seems kooky, it doesn't make sense to me, look at it this way. Why do we have waves? Why do we have tides in the ocean? We have tides in the ocean because of the gravitational pull between the moon and the earth. That gravitational pull creates the tides, and that's where we get the waves from. So that's kind of, okay, can understand that. Now, we are 70% water, 70% liquid. Why would we not think that the gravitational pull of the moon, of any other planet, wouldn't have an impact on our body. And the way that we would have an impact on our body is that it would be creating a certain kind of chemical reaction. It would create a certain kind of electromagnetic reaction. And then that, of course, would impact our mood. And so that is why when we look at things like the natal chart, that you'll see some things about your own life where you're like, wow, I really do feel that way. Now, the natal chart is something that only you can tell about yourself. A lot of people are not going to be able to look at you and know that. And the reason why is because you might have a planetary position that makes you feel like, oh, I just feel like everybody's just coming at me. But from the outside looking in, it looks like you're composed. It looks like you got everything together. So someone looking at you may not be able to see that, but you have to do the self-evaluation. And a natal chart is super fun because, you know, I'm into all this stuff. So it's super fun because you can go back every couple of years to see how things are changed. And I really, truly do believe to take what makes sense to you and leave what does not make sense to you. Meaning you're getting an interpretation from a service, from a person, and perhaps that does not fit into you, or you're not ready to receive the message. Oh, well, let it go. You don't have to keep it. Don't even worry about it, okay? So we're doing this explanation of astrology, and I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to add something to this. I want to get a candle going for us so that we feel like we're in like really the healing kind of movement going on right now. So, okay. I'm so sorry for the noise. I have some construction going on. You will not believe that at 11 o'clock, they were still jackhammering outside. I don't even try to understand anymore. So, to jump back into what we're talking about. So we're talking about the planetary positions and who you are. Okay, so step number 1, go get the time, the date, and the location where you're born. And you can go and you can put these into calculators. And I'll put actually the calculators in the description so you can kind of just jump in there and it'll give you a full like printout of everything. Now, planets that are closest to the sun, they change, meaning they change the sign they're in more frequently. For example, the moon is going to change its sign every 3 days. But you're going to go out to Pluto, which is going to change its sign every 8 years, 10 years. And so the closer you are, the more it's like. And the moon specifically, the moon represents our mood, how we deal with each other. So we can definitely see how we can be greatly impacted every 3 days, where Pluto represents something that's more deep down inside. It represents our relationship to power. It represents kind of the underneath, the unconscious. So those things are going to take a lot longer to resolve, to understand, to get some clarity, to go through the experience than, you know, just how you feel. Now, let's jump in. So the horoscope is your sun sign. Okay, we completely understand that. So then you have your moon sign, which we talked about is how you deal with others, your personality. And you have your rising sign. If you take nothing out of this, I want you to take 2 things. I want you to take your rising sign and your nodal placement. But the rising sign. The rising sign you can only find out if you know what time you were born. That's when we're talking about the houses. I'll explain the houses in a little bit. But your rising sign is the sign that you come off to people when they first meet you. So let's imagine that I was a Leo. My sun sign is a Leo. But my rising sign is Virgo. It's going to take people to actually get to know me before they see this Leo quality. But they'll notice when they first meet me Virgo traits. I might be really organized. I might be very certain about something. I might be very certain in my habits. I might be very certain in feeling about a certain type of duty or a certain type of role. Whatever the Virgo qualities are. I'm not a rising sign Virgo, and I'm not a Leo, in case you want to know. But that's what a person is first going to meet you. They're going to come off, and they're going to notice about you. Well, I'll tell you what I am. My sun sign is in Gemini. I'm a Gemini Cancer cusp, and I'll probably explain cusp at a later time. But I'm a Gemini, and my rising sign is Scorpio. So when people first meet me, they get a lot of this like Scorpio energy, and why not? I'm into all this metaphysical stuff, all this, underneath facilitating the healing experience, walking through your traumas, understanding, forgiveness, and it's very, Scorpion at the same time. Understanding how to, navigate the murky waters. But once you really get to know me, I just like to do a lot of thinking. We spend a lot of time talking, and that's really the Gemini in me doing all of this thinking. I enjoy doing it. And the Cancer cusp is I like to do it in my house. So I do a lot of thinking in my house. And I like a lot of mental stimulation. I like a lot of I talk about school. I'm constantly thinking about, should I go get this doctoral program or something like that, just to kind of, give me something to continue to keep my mind going. But that's what your rising sign is. So to get your rising sign, you got to know what time you were born. And again, I'm going to put that in the description box of where you can go and just calculate this stuff in. It's free. And you can use that. I'll show you the two that I've been using for probably over 10 years. Okay, so then that's your rising sign. I'm going to jump into the nodal placements. The nodal placements are the placements of the moon, and they talk about your karmic future and your karmic past. That's why, as I'm going to explain all of these, I'm going to get into Mercury, I'm going to get into Mars, I'm going to get all in that. I'm telling you, take rising sign, also called your ascendant, and also take the nodes. It's called North Node and South Node. The North Node is where you're going. The South Node is where you've been. You might have some codependency on the South Node, and you might not be as receptive to the North Node. But the North Node is where you're going to flourish, and the South Node is where your natural gifts come from, but you need to start to let go. On top of that, if you know what time you were born, it'll tell you what house it's into. That means you're going to have that energy that way, and you need to do it in this area of your life. I'm going to give myself as the example. My North Node is in Capricorn. So Capricorn is the sign of the father, it's the sign of the boss, it's the sign of perseverance, but also it can be the sign of mental health, meaning you have to have very strong mental health, because the Capricorn is very, very hard. It's an earth sign, so it can be very, very hard on itself. So the energy is more about career, upward mobility, being a leader, organizing, being the boss, right? So that's the North Node. That's the sign. The house, the destination, is in my second house. The second house represents things that have to do with Taurus. So as you know, I'm always talking about this on the channel. Self-worth, inner self-worth, external self-worth, more of your actual like property, living below your means, the actual physical money. Taurus can also be very stubborn, but can also be very certain. So it knows exactly what it wants. So my, North Node is telling me you need to build your self-worth. That's it. But that's not what I come into this life with the gift to do. So even though it's very straightforward when I think about it, the actual execution of it has been so difficult in my life because I carried the baggage of other things behind me. Now, your North Node and your South Node are astrological opposites. That means if you look at the wheel, if you've ever seen a wheel in astrology, if your North Node is there, your opposite is on the bottom. It's the same for everything. Opposite of Gemini is Sagittarius. Opposite of Virgo is Piscean. It never changes. Opposite of Libra is... What's the opposite of Libra? Is it Leo? No, that's not right. Opposite of Leo is Aquarius. Ooh, I feel like I'm going to be stuck unless I... sorry, I don't know why I did that. Opposite of Libra is Aries. I was like, why was I struggling right there? So you have these astrological opposites, and the opposite of Aquarius is Leo. Sorry about that. You have these astrological opposites. So your south node is going to be whatever that opposite is. So if my north node is in Capricorn in the second house, that means my south node is going to be Cancer in the 8th house. And the 8th house represents Scorpio. Cancer is the sign of the mother, is the sign of the child, is the sign of the family, is the sign of nurturing, is the sign of not leaving the house, is the sign of homemaking. And Scorpio is the sign of the taboo, the underdog, the deep, murkiness, Pluto. When I say sadness, I mean, I feel like the best way to explain it is that you will have these complex emotional relationships to people, meaning you may have someone who is a victimizer but have treated you very, very nice, and then you're stuck kind of finding that balance. And this is honest. This is just like really how I came into life. I grew up with not a lot of money at all. My siblings were poor, and I was working class. My mom was working class at the time, and I always knew the difference between that. The difference between not having anything at all and just at least having a paycheck to paycheck. I talk about all the time being the first to go to college and trying to navigate that and figure that out, and being very certain about taking care of myself from a very early age of going out to start working when I was 10, 11, 12, and literally doing anything just to make money in order to take care of myself, because I knew I couldn't necessarily ask people, and if there was someone I could ask, I didn't know how to value myself enough to ask, like to go ask a grandparent, but I just knew I couldn't ask my parents. So, and I also felt like I grew up with a lot of stigma. My mom definitely battled alcoholism. She battled mental health. There was a lot of substance abuse, a lot of physical violence, a lot of sexual violence, a lot of all of these abuses that I saw around me. And I just remember feeling like such an outsider, because it was so much. It was just so much to deal with that the financial part actually didn't really bother me. The physical aspects didn't really bother me, but the emotional aspects were so heavy on me because I came into this life with so much water energy. I couldn't really process what was going on in a healthy way. I didn't know how to process everything that was going on around me, and it took actually going through life and going through this healing journey to resolve some of that. So, not to get too much into my specific life, but what I'm trying to say is that naturally, though, I'm actually very, very caring and very nurturing. It's not, if I see somebody crying or if I see somebody sad, I'm really good at knowing how to nurture that person. If a person is angry, but I know that they have a good heart, I can see underneath that, and I'm not quick to anger. I'm not quick to my emotions of feeling like in front of a person like, oh gosh, I can't stand you. I think about what I'm going to say and how it would impact someone emotionally in the long run. And because of that, I've been in a lot of situations where I had a lot of codependency, where people would be very codependent to me regulating their emotions and their feelings. And it got to the point where it just was so consuming. So the North Node was telling me, look, homegirl, you need to free yourself from all of that. All of that life is over. You've created a life for yourself that's very different than your upbringing. All of those people who were victims or victimizers have transformed their life into something new. And you also need to move forward and correct anything that you inherited, as well as anything that was, that the decisions you made. And so that's what it means. So it's very uncomfortable owning my self-worth when I know that the foundation of who I am was really built on deep sadness and deep sorrow, and all of these things. But I know it's possible, and I kind of do it every day. And I know that even when I feel that way, I know it's kind of irrational. I know it's still like clearing and cleaning out. And it's just like, you know what? Look, you got to clean your house every day, every month. You do your spring cleaning, and it's about that. So I have less of an emotionally reactive connection to what is going on. Okay, so let me jump back into what I was saying. So those are the nodal placements. So it tells you the energy, and it tells you where to focus at. You're going to have this energy. If your North Node is in Leo, you're going to have that energy everywhere. But the journey, you have specifically incarnated to build that up in this certain life, because in many lives before, or in your this early life, you did not have that energy there. You did the exact opposite. So you need to balance it out. It's all about balance. Okay. So we have rising sign and we have our nodes. That's what you're going to remember. Now I'm going to jump back into, we talked about moon, and what's after the moon is we have Mercury. So you probably have heard of Mercury in retrograde. Mercury is all about communication. Mercury changes every 6 weeks, because your sun sign is going to change every 30 days. So 6 weeks. Actually, no, it's a little bit more than that. What I'm thinking about is the retrograde happening for a span of 6 weeks, for a span of 2 weeks. And then you have your pre-shadow period and you have your post-shadow period as well. And whenever a sign goes into retrograde, so that means the signs besides the moon and besides the sun, the signs of Mars, the signs of Mars, the signs of Mercury, the signs of Venus, the signs of all of those into Pluto, that means it's going to do some inward work. And retrograde means it's like this optical illusion from the positioning of the sun, rotating around the sun. It looks like the planet is going backwards, when actually in reality it's not going backwards. It just looks like that, but it's internal work. So your Mercury is how you communicate with others. So my Mercury is in Cancer. So that means when I talk with passion. When when I have communication with someone, that's how I'm going to really come across. Let me give you an example. If you have a Mercury, if you have a Mercury in Leo, you're probably going to talk with a lot of confidence, because that's what Leo is about. At best, Leo is very generous but very out there. At worst, they can be very selfish, in specifically talking about Mercury. But you're going to speak with confidence. So when you're at your very best, you're going to speak with confidence. My moon, to jump back to moon, how I deal with others, is in Libra. So I like things. I don't like to fight with people. I don't mind. I won't back down from what I believe, but I cannot stand just sitting in the same room with someone and you both are irritated. Like, I just need to leave, or I need to go do something else, because it physically impacts me. So we talked about Mercury. Mars, a representation of Aries, that how you fight, essentially, your passion. Mars tells you where your passion is at. So if your Mars is in Aries, which it is at home at, then the things you're passionate about, you're going to be very assertive. You're going to have strong initiation. You may not have a good follow through, but you're going to be you don't need someone else to have the path before you. You're going to put yourself out there and you're just make it done. And if you're passionate about something, you're going to go get it. Same thing as if you have a Mars in Leo, you're going to just be any of those fire signs. You're going to be very passionate about how you go after what you want. The next thing would be Venus. So that's the easy one. That's your love. That's how you deal with people, how you deal with your partnerships. It's also the things that you hold of value, of beauty, what you think beauty is. It tells you how you like to be loved as well. So my Venus is in Leo, so I like that feeling of a lot of attention, and I also like to give a lot of attention. I like all of those, like, grand gestures. I like to do grand gestures too. So that's kind of how that lives. But if you had a Venus in something like Cancer, you would be a little bit more timid. You may not put yourself out there, but you would be expecting someone else to be putting themselves out there, because there's like a little bit of feeling timid there. But once someone got you, you would be very, very loyal to that person. So let's go ahead and take it to the next part. So you have we did Mars, we did Mercury, Venus. We're going to do Jupiter. Jupiter is your planet of growth, how you grow. Jupiter changes every year. So right now Jupiter is in Sagittarius. It's about to end in Sagittarius, and Jupiter in Sagittarius is actually really nice because it's saying you're going to expand. It's a planet of expanding, so you're going to expand through Sagittarian things, and Sagittarian things are usually always kind of like really good. So that means you're expanding your wisdom, you're expanding your reach, you're expanding your all-knowing. You're going to get big. You're going to be put in front of the things that you need to be put in front of. When Sagittarius is in Sagittarius, when Jupiter is in something like Scorpio, then you're going to go through murky periods. I feel like the last time Jupiter was in Scorpio might have been like 2014, 2013, I think. I think it's like 2012, 2013, and you might have gone through a lot of emotionally triggering experiences. You might look through your life and be like, wow, I have some traumas from that time, because they come up to come out, and if you're not ready to deal with them, they can easily turn into a traumatic experience. But it's all about your expanding. So right now we're in Sagittarius, so you can go ahead and just continue to breathe that in. It's all good right there. And then jump into our next one, which is Uranus, which I'm always talking about. Uranus is in Taurus right now. It's just gone into Taurus. It's going to be in Taurus for the next 7 years. So you need to worry about your money. You worry about your self-worth. Get out of debt, y'all. Y'all have to get out of debt, and you have to reevaluate your self-worth. You can't do it the way that you did it before, years before. Now you have to evaluate a new sense of self-worth built on a very new foundation, an authentic foundation. But I talk about this in all my videos, so you could hear more about that in the videos. The next one is Neptune. Uranus is about your individual worth. Neptune is about the worth of us all together, the collective and the unconscious. So Neptune is in Pisces now. So if Uranus is in an earth sign, meaning being practical, and Pisces is in a water sign, it's going to talk about the underneath, the water, the emotions. That means it's faith. Pisces is all about faith and belief and spiritual and balance. And it doesn't necessarily even have to be a religious aspect. It means you need to have faith. So you're in like the ethos somewhere. The seeds of where you want to go in life start by you believing in it before it can even come, even if you're not even there. You believe in it in an authentic way, and then you take that practicality. And then we're going to end with Pluto, which is in Scorpio. And Pluto is that sign of how you deal with power. So if you struggle dealing with power, you might have this weird relationship where you might come off as being aggressive or passive aggressive, or you may be so super timid. But Pluto in Scorpio will definitely do that for you. And forgot Saturn. Saturn's in Capricorn, and it's going to end in Capricorn next year. And that means it's career-wise. So you've been working on that career. You may not feel like you are 100% where you want to be, but March next year, those things are going to pop up. And it's going to be really solidified before it goes into Saturn and Aquarius. So I know I've been rambling. I just wanted to give you this quick gift, and I'm going to continue to talk about this another time. So leave me a comment and tell me how you liked it. But until next time,